Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Thank you, KK. It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up. And Rye, the future starts right now. I know there were some concerns, wasn't there? Remind me if there wasn't. I heard some talk over the last couple weeks on this podcast. By the way, like, comment, and subscribe. Ryan, maybe not too concerned with the starting lineup this year. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, let's go over to some really big news. It had you smiling earlier today, and it had me about jumping out of the seat. Let's see what our alert says. According to ESPN, Olivia Vukosa, the number 3 recruit in the girls' SC Next 100 class of 2026, commits to where else, Rye? Commits to UConn. But I told you, man, we're so excited because again, the future is starting to shape up slowly but surely. I know even you had some concern about it because you're like, I think you asked Emily, remember when she came on with us? You said, man, when are we going to hear about it? When's the future going to start slowly building? So, Rye, it's like a puzzle, right? The pieces are coming together, and I can't be more excited. I know that you can't be more excited. The big question remains for all of us. Drop your comments in the section below, and I'll come to you, Ryan, on this beautiful Tuesday night. First of all, Olivia, welcome. Ryan, what does this mean for UConn?
Yeah, and Big O as her teammates call her in New York. So I think she's going to be a great addition for the UConn Huskies. I'm so glad we got this news today. Of course, Vicosa is still a senior at Christ the King High School in New York, and it's actually the same high school that Sue Bird and Tina Charles attended. So some pretty elite company. They've had the same head coach there for about 30 years, I was reading. So it's quite a popular high school, and it obviously has quite the class of graduates. And Vicos actually cited that being a big reason for why she chose to come to UConn because of Sue Bird and Tina Charles, and of course them growing under Coach Gino and the obviously the careers that they had in the WNBA. But however, the biggest factor there that sealed Vicosa's decision was actually during her UConn visit. She said all the players treated her like family and that she felt welcome there in Stewart. So, like I said, Vicosa obviously a huge pickup for the Huskies next year. She's a 6'4", a center, number one center in the class of 2026. She can handle the ball well, pass, rebound, and even score in the post. And defensively, she's very versatile, can play multiple schemes out there. I've seen some people comparing her to Stephanie Dolson, which is quite the shoes
Mm.
to kind of play into. But I think she's capable of doing it. She's a young lady with a very high ceiling. So the top four recruits now are officially off the board for 2026. But UConn is still in the mix for the fifth ranked recruit, Jersey Robinson, and the 10th ranked recruit, Addison Bayorn. We've had video going over both of those players, really excited about them. A ton of talent as well. So hopefully we get some news at some point during the season. UConn still has two open roster spots remaining for next year, the 2026 season. So hopefully UConn can land both Robinson and Bayorn. Don't want to get too greedy, obviously, but this is great news right before the official start to the 2025 season. And I would expect at least one more announcement, hopefully two, but I think at least one more announcement sometime during the 2025 season.
Right. This is amazing. This is amazing. Well, and you can relate. I'm sure everybody else can that's followed us since we started covering these Yukon women. Now, currently, I'm looking at a picture of Olivia's father, it looks like. Olivia Vukosa with father Demir. Hopefully, I'm saying that right, Demir, and mother Jenny. Right. So we want to welcome the whole Vukosa family to Yukon, Rye. What does this mean though with Sarah Williams headed to the WNBA, right? With current UConn center Sarah Williams headed to the WNBA. next season. Obviously, we expect that to happen. What do you think about now? How does Vukosa impact this team? Does she get an earlier start in this a big contribution to this team rather quickly, rather than some other ladies that have passed by this program or still at this program? I think she's going to be counted on very largely quickly, only because of the departure of Sarah Williams. So, with that said, Rod, yeah, it's going to get interesting fast. What's your take? Also, UConn seems to be stacking up on size all of a sudden. Size, again, well, in my opinion, I think they lacked it. I think they lacked it when you and I started covering this team. Of course, injuries didn't help, but we figured on the times we kept seeing them coming up short of championships, which that's not like them at all. It was primarily, in my opinion, due to a lack of size. I don't think this time you can't blame size this time if they come up short years ahead.
Yeah, it was a lot of injuries and of course the lack of size that UConn seemed to fail to get there for a couple years, maybe even 4 or 5 years, you could say, whether it was out of the transfer portal or through the recruiting classes. But now it seems like for the last couple years, we've definitely gotten some heavy hitters, whether they're coming from overseas or the U.S. But of course, we'll have Ice Brady. She'll be a senior for next year. John L. Alfie, Ayanna Patterson will both be juniors for next year. And of course, Gandhi, Malou, Mamel, and Blanca Quinones will be sophomores who are currently obviously the new recruits for this season. So UConn will definitely still be stacked at the forward center position, but I certainly think Vukosa is a player that could come in and get playing time immediately. I think it's hard to kind of not play her when you get that a player with her kind of talent, recruit her and have her on your team for the next season. So I think it's going to be very hard for the coaching staff to just kind of leave her on the bench for her whole entire freshman season. So I definitely expect Vacosa to be out there pretty early in the 2026 season and be able to make an impact right away.
Let's go. Jason D'Amico. He says, sorry, Phil. I don't agree. KK has Final Four experience at a championship. You don't keep her on the bench as an upperclassman unless she is clearly beaten by the competition, which has not happened. KK starts, in my opinion, my friend, and he's referring to the starting lineup. Rye, yeah, it's so hard for me to keep KK out of my starting five prediction. Wouldn't be surprised at all if she's in a starting five. But again, you and I have seen a lot of comments in recent years from Gina. Now, what's this tell you? You can still be the greatest, and still some people just disagree with you. We've seen comments in years past that people just are not all that satisfied with some of the decisions that Gino makes. You can't satisfy everybody.
Yeah, I think with the kind of talent, it's very hard to kind of try to build a starting lineup. And of course, we said with the amount of depth on this team, you could build a separate starting five from the bench. But I think KK will be in the starting lineup at the beginning of the season. But we saw that Ashlyn Shade dealing with that hamstring injury seems to be healthy as of right now, but if she does kind of aggravate that hamstring at some point during the regular season, obviously, hopefully that doesn't happen. But if somebody gets injured, I think Kaylee Heckle could certainly be the player that is next up to be in that starting lineup. But if Heckle isn't in the starting lineup, I certainly expect her to be one of the first names off of the bench.
You'll love this. Again, his comment goes along very well with what we're speaking about tonight, Rye. Grobel says, recruiting update. Listen to this. Olivia Vukosa, number 3 ranked, class of 2026, 6'4" post, is making her announcement tomorrow, 10/21. Final five list: UConn, Ohio State, LSU, Texas, South Carolina. She canceled her visit scheduled for South Carolina after visiting UConn.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that is
Oh,
certainly great news to hear
oh.
that. And yeah, UConn had to beat out a couple top tier schools to be able to land Vukosa. So that certainly makes it, I guess, a little more appealing and a little more nicer to hear that announcement from Vukosa today. To know that UConn did beat out the a couple of their rival schools and top tier schools to land her. So it's definitely some exciting news.
PRN Soldier, thanks again for coming through. He says, hey, Phil and Rye, Gino has a starting 20, to be honest. Starting 20, Rye. But again, as always, it's all about chemistry. Gino will play around with this until he figures out who works best with whom. Either way, repeat is coming.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, I hope
Ryan,
you're
you're
right.
flying high in the clouds tonight. I can tell.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you're right. I think it's a lot of belief that it could happen again. I think there's a real chance. Definitely have the talent to repeat. Yeah, I think that's the case for most years. Just get a feel of the chemistry, how everybody's working together. And that's why these exhibitions are really important, is to kind of figure out which players play the best together out there on the court, to figure out which lineup works the best together. And I'm sure Gino will have that figured out after their second exhibition game and a couple of practices before the official start against Louisville. But yeah, it's a tough decision that they have to try to work through every single year with the amount of talent on the roster. But I think chemistry is definitely, we saw it in the first game there. So I don't think we really have to worry about the chemistry for this year either for this team.
Rye, again, shout out to the Vukosa family. Congratulations. Just a quick message for them, and hopefully they see this from you and I. Welcome to the team. New challenges, new friends, a new job. How about that, Rye? It's not a game. You and I talk about that. It's a job in our eyes. Congratulations to Olivia and the Vukosa family. Congratulations, UConn. They did it again, Rye. They just keep on stacking up. You are now part of the best team ever. Phil and Rye on Listen Up.